Alright, well, it says we're live on Facebook. So, can't rotate to turn your phone while we're live. So I guess it has to be this way.
Huh.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Well, you can turn it, yeah.
Well, I turn it, it says it can't.
Oh, because
Gives
it's
me
too
an
wide
error
field,
mode.
yeah.
So, walk around to the different sales table. It says we're live. It says we got one viewer.
That's probably you. There's 24 people here.
Wave.
You can talk. It's not silent. It's not 8 millimeter.
We're on, huh?
We're on Super 8.
Oh, you forgot your mask. I tell you. There's Bill Sibley all the way from Las Vegas. Yay! All right.
You may take that, I think.
Yeah, you can take that and. Yes, sir. Eh.
All right, we have about 5 minutes before we start the meeting, and Chris is being called into private consult, so I don't know what. It may delay our beginning. Depends on how much Peter has to say. All right, let's go around to the tables. We're on Facebook Live with this, so.
Good.
There's Terry's table.
Got a little bit of everything.
See, next meeting you could see all this live. Janet. She had nothing to do today. She couldn't bring coffee.
No coffee, no donuts.
Nope. Here at the lovely Elks Lodge, which I believe is decorated for a pirate theme. Pseudo social distancing.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an odd item to have just standard. You have the weights and everything.
Gordon diligently reviewing the auction catalog, which are for sale. This will go over the auction details in the business meeting, which was about to begin.
Yeah, that's unusual. All right. It didn't sell it, but like 1 or 2 years. I don't use standard data or anything because it takes up so much time. I just haven't, I just got these. I was always used to Normally I stick with all the customers for it.
All right, hear ye, hear ye. You have like 1 minute, right?
Get it all fixed up.
Chris, there are 4 people watching now. That's awesome. I'm sure they're bored
I
out
said
of
it was going to be on YouTube and not on Facebook.
Yeah, they're going to be bored out of their gourd at this point, but sorry about that. My videography is suspect.
Videographer.
Still making deals.
Okay, oh, that does work. Good morning, everybody. False start. Get my treasurer in place here and we'll get things started. Or our treasurer, not my treasurer. If it was my treasurer, it'd be broke. All right, well, welcome to all of you. Bill Sibley gets the farthest from home today. Bill's in from Las Vegas. So if you don't know the division member, Bill Sibley. Now he did come down from Vegas. He's getting ready to go back home.
Actually, I came from Houston.
He came from Houston, so maybe that's the farthest I'm coming from Houston. You attend the meeting here. So it's good to see everybody. We didn't know how many people were going to show up to do this. I thank Mark for getting the arrangements. As you know, at most of the churches right now, we can't set up sales tables. And the lodge here allowed us to set up sales tables. So for a lot of us, this is like the first time we've been able to have trains out on a table for 6 months. So it's a pretty good deal for us. So thank you, Mark, for making the arrangements to get everybody here, or get us in here. Mr. Angelo, give us the, I do not have an agenda. As I was going out the door this morning, I talked to Laurel, and she says, do you have everything? Because I always forget something. I get halfway here, and I'll have her, look at my desk and see if I forgot something. And as I was going out the door, she said, do you have everything? And I said, well, I have everything but one thing. And she said, what did you forget? I said, I forgot, I never wrote an agenda for the meeting today, so I'm just going to have to play it off the top of my head because I don't have an agenda at all. So this might be a very short business meeting today. So Angela, go ahead and give us the secretary's report.
No changes, we're still at 185.
All right. Do we have any guests here today? No, just division members only. Okay. Mark, want the microphone or? All right, he's good.
TCA savings has $190.03. Checking $12,748.04. And the business certificate has $20,012.01. $8.49 dividend in the last couple of months, which is more than we got all last year. That's it.
All right. For those of you who haven't been keeping up, what the board authorized as part of our process of becoming an incorporated division, Mark was able to move the bulk, as you heard, almost all of our savings into a certificate of deposit. Our checking account was getting 0.0001% interest, I think it was.
Checking that, nothing.
Yeah, so what he did was he took the savings and moved it into a certificate, a 6-month certificate of deposit. 6 month?
Yeah.
6 month. And so we're getting a little bit of interest on the money that's just sitting there that was giving us like a penny, 2 cents, every month. So
17 cents.
17 cents. So we're making a little bit of money on the money that's just sitting in the bank, doing them good and us nothing. So that's why the savings is down to $190. It's there, but we can do most of what we need to do for the division through our checking account for the remainder of the year, it looks like. So the CD will just keep on rolling. We didn't buy stock in Amazon or Zoom communications or anything like that. It's just in a CD account, so it's nice and secure.
Tesla.
All right, as I mentioned, over the summer, we've been a little bit busy. We did incorporate the division as a nonprofit in Arizona. Following becoming incorporated, we're probably one of, I think at last count, 12 other divisions in TCA are incorporated within their own state. So the incorporation was not a big deal. After we filed for incorporation, we did file with the IRS to become a 501c3, to be recognized nationally as a 501c3. Currently, we get our 501c3 status through TCA National. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't work, because when they call up that number, which you can do, we have what's called a tax EIN. And when they call up that EIN, it shows, the Lancaster office rather than, us here in Desert Division. And sometimes they still give it to us and sometimes they don't. So we went ahead and filed with the IRS. Without COVID, it takes 60 days. With COVID, there's no idea how long it's going to take. So we're hopeful that we'll hear something by the end of the year, because we filed it in the summer. And if we do, then we do get some benefits. The cost to us to file for the permit or the exemption or whatever was $275. And we should get that money back just on reduced PayPal fees and other savings that we can get probably within a year or two. And it also makes it cleaner when people do give us a donation. We've been picking up donations quite a bit over the summer. As a matter of fact, you'll hear about a recent donation we picked up during the educational segment. So that was one of the things that happened during the summers. We did become incorporated, and we are waiting to hear our status on a 501c3. The other things, as you probably know, just about every trade show in town's been canceled. The inside limit is still 50 people. So anytime you have an event that's enclosed or indoors, the maximum that can be inside is 50. Right now, our busiest meets are about 50 people, 45 to 50. So we squeeze in to do an indoor meet as a monthly meeting, but that pretty much kills any kind of an indoor train show. We did cancel the show at the Shriners. Between volunteers, table sellers, and table helpers, we have 100 people. That's before we even open the door. So there's no way we could meet the 50 people limit. In talking with the Shriners, they do not expect that 50-person limit to be lifted until COVID's over with. It's frustrating for them because there's restaurants that have more than 50 people in a restaurant in closer quarters. But it's just the nature of the beast and the way the regulations are running right now. So, yep, Gordon?
Is that just in Phoenix, or is
Arizona.
that all of Maricopa County?
It's Arizona. It's
the whole state?
The whole state. So, yeah, if we go over to Apache Junction, maybe we could have something in Apache Junction. No, I already checked that. Because the Mesa swap meet's still going on. That's the puzzler. You go out on 60, well, Phil probably drove past it this morning coming in, Gold Canyon. But the Mesa swap meet's still going on out there. But in certain events, Phil's keeping his fingers crossed. The Renaissance Fair won't happen in the spring, I bet. But yeah, any kind of mass gathering is pretty much killed. So it's just the way it is, and the Shriners told us that they don't expect that to change until, probably once the COVID's behind us, which will probably be next summer. Bill?
It'll all change on November 4th.
Yeah, I read it on the internet too. Don't believe it. It'll change all right. It'll probably go in the other direction, but, you know, we'll see how that happens. Let's see, so all the train shows are canceled. Our meetings, we will still try to do an October meeting. As for our park and swap, where that's at right now, I have contacted 2 different facilities and was turned down by both. One was a church, one was Mesa Community College. The church hasn't opened yet. And because the church hasn't opened yet, they don't feel comfortable about trying to do something or even talk about doing something, you know, until they reopen. They said if we reopen, you know, in September, give us a call back. And that's getting kind of tight to try to get, you know, people, you know, advertising out there and all that if we're trying to do a November show. Adobe Mountain, which was the last ship to fall, Adobe Mountain Council, they were the last weekend in October. I have heard that the Glendale group is trying to put together a, is that Fred Hunter? It is Fred Hunter. I did hear the Glendale group is trying to put together a show as well. I don't know if that's going to come off or not. So if we hear of any trade show in town, we'll send it out because, you know, right now everybody needs a show. So if we can do a show, you know, if we hear about a show, you know, we'll have it up on our website and promote it. But we're still pushing for to do a park and swap type of show sometime in November if we can. The auction on November 7th is on. Again, our typical attendance with volunteers is under 50. The church has our check. They have our signed contract. They have everything except they haven't cashed the check yet. So, again, it's a church that hasn't reopened. They do expect to open, so the auction is proceeding as planned. They do not see any kind of a problem. We'll have to sign probably some kind of a waiver to get in because they are kind of bending the rules to let the public come into that church. It is the Methodist church that we used in 2017, I think. The January 2017 show. So we have been there before. They're very easy people to work with. Their hands are tied because of a layer above them. It's a Methodist church, and they have a bishop above them. And the bishop is the one that's directing, telling them when they can reopen and all that kind of stuff. So the church is ready, but the bishop isn't ready just yet.
We want to come here next month. I need to know by Monday at 3 o'clock. It'll be October 10th, second Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's filling up. We're filling up our Saturdays pretty fast.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, then, I don't know if we need to have a vote on that, but, I mean, if we have this kind of a turnout next month, you know, it sounds good.
Well, if you don't have a parking lot, I'll turn it.
Yeah, right now, we do not have, because our new church is going to be the new Methodist church. We haven't had a board meeting. So this is the first, we normally have a board meeting right before our meetings, and so we're kind of discussing stuff on the fly. The last board meeting we had was a couple of weeks ago. All right. See, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Like I said, I forgot to write an agenda, so. Oh, you have the minutes to go over?
So I have the agenda from our last board meeting.
That's our agenda from the last board meeting. Rail fair, if you have not heard, rail fair has been canceled. What do they call their train thing? Is it in here? No, they have a Halloween event at the railroad park. It's like spectacular or something like that, but it has to do with trains. That's been canceled as well. They do not know if they're going to do holiday lights, which is a huge event for the railroad park. Do not go to the railroad park thinking you can get into the railroad building. The railroad building is closed except to P&P members only. So they're allowing, and they have strict attendance of who can get into the railroad building.
9 people per club.
Yeah, nine people per club. So, I mean, it's, the COVID thing is very serious. All this, the clubs are, you know, we're all in the same boat. We're all facing the same situation on the different events that we can hold. Let's see, I talked about rail fair, talked about trade auction. Oh, the holiday party. The holiday party is canceled for this year as well. That was in December. That was a board decision. We talked to the DoubleTree, we talked to the holiday committee, or the Christmas committee, whatever you want to call it. And we decided, with all the different inputs and everything, just to go ahead and cancel it. No one's really in a party mood. And trying to do, you know, when we get together, we have fun, we cram everybody at a table, we all start lying to each other, even though it's Christmas, and telling stories and having a good time. And we just felt that nobody really was in the mood for a Christmas party this year. So we went ahead and listened to the party. Fred, you got your hand up. You need the microphone, or?
I'll bring Lennox ornaments next meeting, so anybody who ordered one can pick it up.
Okay. So if you ordered the Lennox, then Fred will bring them, and if you can't make the meeting, for those that you may be watching online or watching it later on, what we'll do is we'll hold them in reserve and make arrangements to get them to you, because a lot of people can't make it, they can't get out, so we'll figure out a way. If I drive around town with my brand new Honda, we'll drive around town and get the ornaments. For those of you who don't know, I ended up getting a new car over the winter, or over the summer. So I was bored, so I went out and bought a toy. Or I bought a Honda, so I don't know. But yeah, I still have my old van. The van hasn't gone away, but I have something that's a little bit more reliable to drive around town than that 20-year-old van of mine. So we'll see what happens. Peter, why don't you come on up and make Peter Atona has something he'd like to say to everybody. Be a change of voice instead of me droning on for another 10 minutes or so. You want to do it in front or behind? Okay. You're circling.
Oh, Angelo has his camera. Angelo, camera. Thank you. See?
Kristy, could you come on up? You can stay right there.
Ah,
Unless you,
Well,
come on around my side.
he's going to roast you, so you might want to stay there now.
Okay. As you all know, this last year, the National TCA was not fun. We had a lot of issues. We all saw New York cancel the first time ever. Even more important, we actually had to cancel the national convention. Now, part of the shame of that is that at the national convention, we're able to recognize some of the people who have given a lot to the national organization. One of those people is standing right next to me. Kristy Wilson, as you may know, has ended her 14 years of service as the national secretary. Actually, not quite, because we have an executive committee meeting on Monday, and your last 7 minutes is up for approval. But that's neither here nor there. She does not have to take minutes at the executive committee next Monday. But what we like to do, and again, it's a shame that I cannot do this in front of the entire assembled membership, but there's a little something from National that I have prepared for Kristy in recognition of her years. If you go ahead and open it. Kristy.
Board of Directors of the Train Collectors Association wish to thank Kristy Wilson for 14 years of service, National Secretary, 07 to 2020.
Now, I have to tell you, you know me, I have to tell you a story about this. First of all, this would have been given to Kristy in front of 300 TCA members, but I thought one that's the least National can do to recognize the years of service that Kristy has put in. So 2 tales. First of all, this last year, we had probably twice as many board meetings and executive committee meetings in the National's history. Guess who had to do minutes of every single one of those? Now, I might close out a meeting like at our time, 6 o'clock at night. By 5 o'clock the next morning, guess what was in my in-basket? Kristy had already spent that night drafting up minutes. I mean, this lady would not stop. Her ability to do her job probably has never been matched in the history of our organization. And so, that's the least we can do, which will be the least, just a second here, is that plaque. Now, the other story is, there were 2 plaques that I got for honored people. Jim Williams was our parliamentarian for 20 years. Unfortunately, Jim passed away this spring. But before he passed away, I wanted to do a plaque in recognizing his years of service because he did retire in mid-March and we now have a new parliamentarian. So I asked Tammy Hirsch, our executive director, could you have these 2 plaques made, one for Kristy and one for Jim? Because I'd already gone online, there's this great big plaque company in Lancaster. So Tammy got back to me and said, oh, they're closed, they're not even taking orders. Are there any other places in Lancaster that do awards? No, can't find anything in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So Peter said, wait a minute, this is Arizona, we can do anything. So I got to get online, and guess what? Prescott Valley, Arizona, there's a plaque company that's fully in business. So Kristy's plaque was specially made in Prescott Valley, Arizona for her. Now, that's just one thing, but Kristy and Gordon have been dear friends for 30 years now. And we really love knowing them, and I've seen what Kristy has done for this organization over the years. And much as I think that's a neat plaque, I think that there's a little something that Mary Jane and I want to give her. It's just another sort of thank you. So Kristy, here's something for Mary Jane and myself. Again, sort of thank you from the 2 of us. It's TCA orange paper, you notice? It's not TCA orange paper. We knew Gordon and Kristy liked Indian artwork, and again, in Paulden, we have an artist that does work on stone. So this is sort of another thank you for Kristy's service to our organization, at least from Peter and Mary Jane. So Kristy, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Kristy.
Peter,
No, you're gonna give away my pad? Boy, I tell
I
you.
always have these notepads made for the convention. I had them made long before we knew COVID was coming. So this is a notepad from the non-convention.
It's the Phantom Notepad, yes, the Phantom Convention. It's like printing up World Series tickets in June.
This will go in my honor. It says to make tracks to jacks. You never remember that phrase.
Make trips to Jack's, that's right. We are going to Jacksonville, except we're gonna be going in 2025. We renegotiated the contract for this year, rather than pay the penalty. So we're going to Jacksonville. It's just gonna be 5 years later than what we originally thought we were going to Jacksonville, so. Speaking of conventions, the convention, TCA convention for next year is in Irvine, California. And that convention is still on. That will take registrations probably before the vaccine is out, but it will take reservations starting in January. Let's see,
I'll
this
be
is
there.
what, September. If you haven't bought your convention cars, the deadline is fast approaching. I think it's at the end of the month. I think that the convention cars now closed at the end of September. If you haven't seen the convention cars, take a real hard look at the American Flyer ones. Even if you're not an American Flyer collector, they have a bunch of produce labels on the side of the cars from a produce company that's from Southern California and also from Yuma, Arizona. So those are some pretty nice graphics on that convention car set. So, but if you are interested in getting convention cars, they do end, the sales end early now. They don't end, they used to end after Christmas, and now they end early so they can get into production and in our hands a little bit quicker. Outside of that, are there any questions that we have? It's going to be a short meeting, like I said, and unfortunately not a lot of people brought stuff up for the educational segment. No questions from anybody? All right, did anybody do anything? I don't know, you all haven't been doing a lot of traveling, I imagine, but any railroad stories over the last 6 months? We had Phil's article. We should have him get up here and wax poetically about a diesel engine, or a diesel turbine, I should say. As I mentioned, I get phone calls or an email on a fairly regular basis. Sometimes from a former member, sometimes just from somebody who stumbles across Angelo's great website. People will type in, looking for Lionel trains or something like that, and our website that Angelo's managed for almost 20 years now will pop up, and there's a block where they can contact the division. And people, I get probably an email a week. The one that was in my box yesterday was somebody was looking for information on N-Gauge. They had a small N-Gauge collection and didn't know where to turn to, and all they could find was the Desert Division webpage. So I hooked them up with the Sun and Sand group over at the railroad park. I didn't need a bunch of N-Gauge stuff in Peter's Locks. I figured that would just kind of slow things down. But I got a call a year or so ago from a former member. The member's name was Tom Griffin. He used to attend our meets over at the Scottsdale JC Hall, would go to the shows and everything. And he had a layout, took the layout down, didn't want it. He's 78, was having some medical issues, and took his layout down. Wanted to donate the layout material to the club, and then he's holding on to his trains, and it's in his will that if it happens beforehand or unexpectedly, well, we'll get his trains in consignment, but he wants to look at his trains. They're up on the wall right now in his house. But he donated all his layout stuff. I also got a call from our good friend Jerry Clyde. Jerry Clyde is out of the repair business officially. He's shutting down, or did shut down. His ad, if you have noticed, has been pulled from our newsletter. He doesn't want to do anything, and he's pretty much sold all his parts and everything on eBay. I did not know I was buying from Jerry Clyde. I bought a couple miscellaneous lots of parts from a guy in Scottsdale, or a person in Scottsdale. I didn't know it was a guy. And they showed up at my house, and I didn't think anything about it because there's no real return address. It's just the eBay sellers. And Jerry calls me on the phone. He says, "Hey, Chris, I've got some oddball stuff. You want to come by and pick it up?" And I said, "Yeah, Jerry, I'll swing by." So went by his house and picked up his donation, one of which has already been called for. The items on the front table were donations. They are free, except for the doormat, because Kristy's already called for the doormat. But rather than try to sell them for $1 or $2 or anything like that, I do want to honor the request of the people who made the donation. But there's some nice buildings over there. If you need windows, a couple of them can be busted down and repurposed. There's a coaling station over there that unfortunately the heat got the better of. The engine shed's the same thing. The pieces are all there, but if you have a layout or you need pieces to go into a layout or buildings, feel free to take them. The lamps came from Tom Griffin's garage. They were over his layout. So everything on that front table, with the exception of the doormat, because Kristy's already claimed that. She said, "How much is for the doormat?" So after the meet, first come, first serve. Go ahead and help yourself over there for the donations. Along that same line, since we don't have any educational segment, I'll segue right into that. About a month ago, I got a call from a person, or an email from a person, and wanted to know if the club would take a Meccano. I have my grandfather's Meccano set. Would you be interested in the Meccano set? I'm not proud. Meccano, you know, we run all kinds of things in the Meccano, you know. So I said, sure. A couple of emails later, I'm trying to get some information on it. And I get over to the house. It's in the Arcadia area. And the lady met me at the door, and we exchanged niceties and everything. And here's this, literally a wooden box full of Meccano. And that was not what I expected. I expected something a little bit more like in a kit, you know, with the Meccano box and everything. And here's the motor. It needs a little bit of cleaning, but it's a nice motor. I mean, beautiful. The Meccano set's pretty much clear. And the other one, this one's been rewired. I don't know if we want to try to plug it in. But at the bottom, and Paul Wasserman, bless his soul, has always talked about the bottom of the box. Now, if you can imagine all of these Meccano pieces sitting on this box. And at the bottom of the box, rolled up, like they used to roll up newspaper, was the 1917 Meccano catalog and the assembly instructions. Now, this thing is in very fragile shape. But sandwiched between the catalog and the instruction set was a Lionel 1917 catalog. I've never seen one. Never touched an original. I've seen reproductions. I got the Greenberg reproduction book. But here's a 1917 original Lionel catalog. Considering that's over 100 years old, and if you look at the front of it, standard of the world for 17 years. So it was pretty cool. These were rolled up, and there was a busted up rubber bandage you could kind of make out once kept them together. And I peeled them apart, and then all the Meccano pieces were just laid on top of them in this box. So if you're interested in the motors or in the 1917 Lionel catalog, they'll be in the November auction as an add-on. I want to try to move these as quick as we can. And I don't know, I'll leave that up to Peter to figure out if he wants to sell the catalog separate from the Meccano pieces or how to do that. Yes. Well, I don't know how else to get rid of the Meccano stuff, so I figured if we put the 17 catalog in there. All right. But it was just...
It's at an auction right now.
You could have an auction right now. Yeah, I got 2 people that would bid on it right now in the front. But it's really interesting sometimes when I do get these phone calls. And I let the board know and try to inform them what's going on, because Angela has to write the donation letter. But we end up with some really unusual pieces, and inevitably the people who make the donation, I just want it to go to somebody who's going to appreciate it. And my grandfather owned it and got a lot of fun out of it. And I promise them that the people who are going to be bidding on these things or getting these things, that's what we'll do with them. We'll make sure they get in the hands of somebody that really wants to pass on the joy that their parents had with them. So, Phil?
I think as a former national president and honoring
past national president here, I think you ought to donate that 1917 to the TCA National Museum.
I believe we could donate the proceeds. How's that? We'll figure that one out.
I can't go and see the proceeds.
Well, if they have I'm almost certain, and I can check with the library, but I'm almost certain that they probably have a 1917 catalog back there. It's probably in a little bit better shape than this one that's been rolled up like a newspaper, but I can check with them. You know, certainly, I mean, it was a donation, but I'm almost certain they have a 1917. There's a lot more paper back there than what we'll ever see out here. And how this thing made the transition from heaven knows where to the Arcadia area of Phoenix, I do not know. But it's just an interesting, like I said, the stories that you hear about, you know, the bottom of the box and some of the strange things you find. And the catalog was in between the two Meccano catalogs. And the whole mess was just rolled up. I mean, it was rolled up. I couldn't figure out what the heck this paper roll was. So it was just chucked in there. And it was from 1970, the Meccano catalogs from 1917. It just totally blew me away. So they're free to, if you want to take a look at them, if you haven't before. I mean, they're dirty. I haven't touched them up. I haven't cleaned them or anything. But if you want to take a look, I ask that you leave the paper in the bag, in the Ziplocs, because they are so fragile. But if you do want to take a look at them before you leave today, please feel free to do so.
Chris?
Sir?
Can we get a hi, Beth? Because Beth is watching. Beth Stang.
Oh, Beth Stank is watching on Facebook. Say hi, Beth. Wish you were here. So we tried to do a YouTube, Ralph will get you in a second. We tried to do a YouTube broadcast for the people who couldn't watch us, and we advertised YouTube, and we have, the lodge has Wi-Fi, but the signal's too weak in here to do the Wi-Fi for the YouTube. And so we had to fall back, and we're broadcasting the meeting on our Facebook channel rather than on the YouTube channel. So all the planning and everything kind of went down the tubes, and we'll make do. We're on Facebook Live right now instead of YouTube Live. We do have a YouTube channel. If you haven't seen the YouTube channel, and I'm slowly, this past week, we haven't activated it in probably 4 years. I think was the last time I uploaded a video to our YouTube channel. And I have a ton of videos from TCA conventions, from rail fair, from our different shows that I'm going to be putting up on our YouTube channel to try to get some traffic to the YouTube channel so that we can do a better job and go out on YouTube a little bit better. I didn't realize this. I don't know how many of you all have kids, grandkids, and all that. Facebook is dead because all the old people found Facebook. So since all the old people found Facebook, the kids moved on to the next thing. And so my grandson, 14 years old, has his own YouTube channel with 300 subscribers to it. And he gets on and he broadcasts and he does magic tricks. And there's like 300 other kids that gets on YouTube and watch him do magic tricks. He's trying to be a magician. So, I mean, it's crazy. They just, once all the old people take over something, the kids kind of, oh, okay, grandma and grandpa are on Facebook. We got to find something else to do.
Instagram.
So they move on. So it's just where you can't keep up with the technology with them anymore. Anything else before we get into the raffles? Oh, Ralph, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Monday morning, at 12:30 on Mondays, there's a train, not a railroad program on. It's on RFD TV. It's on, if you got Direct TV, it's 3:45.
Is it the old I Love Train series, or is it something different?
I think it's
Okay.
that.
Okay. For those of you who haven't, if you have cable, satellite, look in your channel guide for the RFD, the rural farm, whatever it was. RFD for the post office used to be rural farm delivery. But it's the RFD channel. They do have train stuff on there quite a bit. So, I mean, it's something if you're bored and looking for things to do, instead of me sitting in front of a computer for 3 hours, you know, just mindlessly going through YouTube videos. I mean, it is something to do. Like I said, it's on DirecTV. I know it's on Dish because I have Dish. I've seen it on Dish. I don't know what channel it is. Anything else? Bill?
In case you are a pure Lionel person and have not followed anything with Mike Strainhouse, this summer there was an announcement made, and Mike Wolf has made the decision to close down Mike Strainhouse. In fact, maybe Janet knows whether there's going to be one more catalog, or was that the
No,
last
there was
one?
an HO catalog after the last, Red Rail King Premier catalog. They had HO out, but there will be continued service and with a company and continued DCS, another company. That's like 2 companies are coming out of this, but no production. And couldn't find a buyer. So.
There's been an announcement that there may be, I didn't know that it was in fact going to happen, but I know that they're trying to sell the production of the Mike Strainhouse product line, but it was reported on the computer that there was companies that are going to be supporting DCS and going to be doing other activities. But the last thing was that I think it's the last Saturday in September, there's going to be an online auction of stuff in the warehouse. And the written indication was there's more of the development and production stuff and graphics and stuff like that. It wasn't a list of trainings or anything that I've seen yet. But that's...
Yeah, Cabin Fever auctions. The auctioneer for Cabin Fever, I can't even think of his name right now. Kristy, can you help me? He used to work out of New England. I can't think of his name. He's a famous auctioneer. He's over at Cabin Fever auction. He's an East Coast auctioneer, train auctioneer. No, not Steph. Yeah, Ted Bauer. Ted Bauer is running Cabin Fever auction, not running it, but he's the auctioneer. Ted, and if you ever attended East Coast auctions, Ted Bauer is one of the more respected auctioneers. He's very, very knowledgeable in his, train knowledge with stuff. And he's the auctioneer now with Cabin Fever. Just go online, look for Cabin Fever auctions, and then if you're interested in any of the stuff, prototypes have been sneaking out on mics for about 2 or 3 years. There's been people, companies, hobby shops been buying certain prototypes, and I've purchased a couple on eBay over the years for prototypes of mainly postal service vehicles that Mike's offered over that time. And I wanted to have a prototype. So if they're dumping prototypes 2-3 years ago, you can kind of see this was, in the wind. They were cleaning shop up and things like that. So it's a surprise. It's a big hurt for a lot of us. But like Janet said and Phil said, the DCS is going to be, or continue to be supported. So if you got the electronics, at least the electronics ends of it, they're still going to be supported. It's just that you're going to have Lionel and Menards. And that's going to be, you're going to have some of the smaller, like 3-rail. Jonathan's not here, so, but the smaller companies like 3-rail will be out there. And Bachman will still be, filling in some of the niche. But it was time, I guess, for Mike to, enjoy some of the fruits of his labor while he still could. All right, give me that apple jar there, Mr. Treasurer.
Say hi to your wife, Chris.
Oh, my wife is watching too. She's only making sure I'm at the train meet and
He's
not
here.
at my girlfriend's
I
house.
promise. Yeah.
And that you don't bring any trains home.
Yeah, that I don't bring any trains home. That's true. All right. Not good. It's not mine. Well, I always hate reaching in and pulling out my own ticket. So, as we announced, there is no Hudson ticket up here today. We have an extra prize. Peter, you're sitting way in the back by yourself. Ticket number, just make it legal. Last four is 5280, but it has Peter's name on it, so.
That being,
Oh, well, that's true. That's true.
I never win on these things, Chris.
Well, maybe today we'll have two Peters. How that is? Peter, it's yours.
Put a nice name on it.
It has your name, 5280. I was looking right at you when I pulled it.
I only go up to 76.
huh.
I forgot there was two Peters here. Yeah, 5280. All right, you get to pull the next ticket for me.
Seems safe in
Now
2020.
you can pull mine.
Seems prudent.
Oh, no name. And Dave Brown's here. But it really is no name. 5318, 5318. 5318. Oh, jeez. Even with the mask on, we know who Bill Richardson is.
Are you going to give me second today?
The
5318. Yep.
the Posey Bandit.
Pull out a ticket, not yours. I was at the GCM Army a couple of weeks ago, and how many times was your name called? I mean, a couple times. Ah, this guy's here too.
Well, that's good since he put his name in the bin.
Hey, a couple people left. I know people have
Oh.
other places to go, and we're happy that they showed up.
They had other places to go in
Hurry up,
October,
hurry up, hurry up.
September
All
of
right,
2020.
Terry Haas, 5245. Terry Haas. It makes it easy when the name's on the back. 5245.
It's more fun when it's just numbered.
That's all right. I wrote your name on my ticket.
That's,
Draw me a ticket. Yeah, while you're making your decision. All right. I can't believe this. They're stuck together. 5317. The last one was 5318. Is that yours? Because you had 18. It's 17. 5317. Just draw somebody else's? You can thank Terry for drawing your ticket.
he's,
What
Right.
side did you draw from? Here, I'll draw from the top. How's that? 5223. Oh, I'm not surprised. GLW. 5223. I didn't see GLW on the backwards, on the backside, on the flip flop. We're down to 4, now soon to be 3. It should be hard, Gordon. There's only 2 Lionel up here. I don't need, you had your name on the back. I don't need the ticket. I only need the ticket when there's no name. No, not when your initials are written in it, in blood. Yeah, I figured an orange box. Pull me a ticket. The day you take something that's not in an orange box, I'd be surprised.
be
All
imminent.
right. This one says Chris,
That'd be you.
which is me. 5316. 5316 was the ticket number. I don't want anything. All right. If Bill can pass, I can pass. 5208. 5208. 5208.
The third
Oh, it's
person.
Angela.
Yeah,
There
the
you
third
go.
person to buy tickets. Because I was the first.
Thank you, sir. All right, 5196.
Yay!
510. What is this, a board? The president, secretary, vice president. What is this? 5196. Yeah. All right. Pull me a ticket for the last prize. All right. You lose. The treasurer always loses. 5234. Janet. 5234. And there's no choice. What has your name? If it has your name, I don't need to see the ticket. All right, as long as you write your name, I don't need to see your ticket. All right. If anybody doesn't have any questions, then we're going to close the meeting. Don't forget the donation items up here. Please help yourself. The lights are very nice. And the buildings, like I said, the buildings will break down and make some interesting sub-buildings. So go ahead and grab it. We're in here till about 11:30, so if you want to stay and socialize a little bit more, browse the tables that haven't been picked up yet, please feel free to do so. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in October.
Thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. Have a good afternoon.